Hey, I'm outside. I can't believe it. It's actually not loud out here. It's usually really loud with lawnmowers and all the things, but today it's just birds chirping. So fingers crossed, it stays that way for now. But I wanted to hop on and talk about intimacy for a really quick video on a beautiful Sunday. So I read something recently or heard it or something because I jotted it down in my phone notes, and it's been nagging at me to share just because I think it's so beautiful. And it's something along the lines of, if you want intimacy, become intimate with your own fears, your own hopes, and your own softness. I love that so much for so many reasons. But I think that what so many of us want is deep emotional connection. We want to feel seen. We want to feel like we're able to deeply see other people. I think that this is such a common human desire. And yet, without being authentic to ourselves, which is what this quote is asking, we can't really have true, deep connection, because deep connection requires intimacy. Intimacy in terms of how we connect with ourselves and others. So by that I mean, let's say that we're really used to letting people get to know 50% of who we really are. And let's say we have a group of people who really like that 50% that they know. Can you really ever feel as though they know you? Because they don't really know 50% of who you are. And so therefore, the question that sort of like nags us in our own mind is, if they knew that other 50%, would they still like me? That nagging doubt creates so much distance in and of itself. But the fact that we're not necessarily letting ourselves be fully known is the bigger barrier. This is something that I feel like I'm being called to work on personally. I am definitely someone who, over the years, especially when I was younger, although it has lingered into my older years as well, and as somebody who grew up on military bases, my dad was in the Air Force and we moved a lot. Each time we moved, it was like I had to start all over again with a whole new social network and figure out how to fit in. And despite how unique that circumstance was, I think that at some level we all find ourselves in situations where we feel as though in order to fit in, we have to figure out what aspects of ourselves are allowed to be showcased and which aspects are not. It's easy to admit to when you look back to when you were younger, right? But let me ask you this, in terms of your partner or your best friend or your closest person, ask yourself if they really know you. And maybe the answer is yes. But I know for me, when my husband was alive, I'm not sure he really knew me. Not in the fullest sense. And I think I can say that with more honesty now than I could if he were still here. But looking back now, I can truly, honestly say that there are aspects of myself I did not allow him to see, and vice versa, for sure. I remember there were certain things that I would talk about sometimes, and I could tell immediately on his face his disapproval, and I would silently tuck those aspects of me aside. I can remember specific conversations, and I can also remember lots of little fleeting moments that silently shaped who I was so that I could be close to him. And I know for sure the same was true for him. So I invite you to look at your closest relationships and ask yourself, what do you hold back from them knowing about you? And in what ways does that impact how you show up in the relationship? And also, in what ways does that impact how connected you feel with that person? Not just when things are good, but when things are hard as well. Remember, the quote was something along the lines of, if you want intimacy, you must be willing to become intimate with your fears, your desires, and your softness, something like that, right? And what that also says to me is that so many of us don't share fully who we are because we don't fully know who we are either, because there are so many aspects of us that are hidden in our shadow that have not been reclaimed, because early on we were already being shaped from a young age. So therefore we trimmed off different pieces of who we are in order to fit in our home environments as well growing up. This is so much what shadow work's about. This is so much what the healing journey is about. The work really is a journey back to who you really are at your core. And then in this discussion, it really becomes important to add and let the people who matter to you know that version of you. Maybe even let people who don't know you that well get to know that version of you. Because the thing is, maybe they don't know you that well because you haven't let them get to know you, right? So it becomes like a self-fulfilling prophecy in some ways when we put these masks on and we hide really key aspects of ourselves, which oftentimes are the parts of us that are the most endearing, that are the easiest to connect to. This is really brave and beautiful work for anyone who's willing to go there. But I do want to add that I think the reason why so many people are afraid to do this work is because there is a fear that they will lose some relationships. And here's the truth. You might. I think that sometimes when people go through a process of trying to become more aligned with who they really are on the inside, then what sometimes happens is they enter into a season where they feel quite lonely for a while because the people that they were connected to start to drift away because those people liked the version of that person that they had been presenting. And the new has not been yet drawn in. The people who would really authentically love who you are in your fullness, they haven't made their way to you yet. So there can be this season of loneliness, of feeling like, why am I even doing this work? Why am I doing this when I'm here alone? How am I going to find my people? Well, I think that the way forward is through. It's really not about taking steps backwards and going back to the version of you that maybe was more palatable, but instead learning how to love yourself in the in-between, learning how to hold yourself in a really loving place in the meantime, so that that season, if it is one that you have to navigate through, is one that you can navigate through, that it is tolerable, and that you can make it to the other side and find people who really just love all of the nuances, all of the quirks, and who are just enamored with who you are as a person because it vibrationally aligns with who they are as a person. And in this way, you feel seen, you feel known, you feel emotionally more connected, and true intimacy finally becomes possible. That's what we all want, right? And yet we set up our lives in a way where it's really hard to get that. But also remember that it is a journey. I'm finding that oftentimes I can hold on to this version of who I am and then feel it slipping away when I'm anxious or when I'm busy or when I'm stressed out. I slip back into the old habits. It's really easy for that to happen when we're feeling vulnerable, when we're feeling unsure, when our feet feel unsteady on the ground underneath us. And in those moments, I remember I have to ground myself, ground my energy, remember that it's okay to be exactly how I was designed. Then you just pick up and you start again. There is no perfection when it comes to this. There's only process. It's only putting one foot in front of the other, with each step shed a layer that is not you, and course correct when it feels like you veered off course. There's something I want to add from a manifestation and energetic standpoint as well. I believe that our signal is the strongest when we are the most authentic version of ourselves. So I think this can explain why at times in certain seasons of our lives, when we've been grinding away trying to make something happen, if you look back in hindsight, you might be able to recognize, wow, I was really going at that from a place that was not very authentically in my fullness, that there were ways that you were showing up and trying to make this happen from a very modified version of who you are, as opposed to allowing yourself to be your fullest version, standing in that full authentic version of you, and then moving forward with that signal full, strong, and clear radiating off of you. Because the thing is, if you think about it, when we have shame around certain aspects of who we are, it really signifies a blockage in a particular chakra. So if we are afraid of our voice and we think that, oh, I can't be someone who speaks in a certain way with authority or with power, then maybe it's in the solar plexus, or maybe there are some root chakra elements there, or if it's about safety, feeling unsafe to be your true self, that's also maybe a sign that there are root chakra blockages. And remember, if there are blockages in your energetic channel, that means that your signal cannot be very strong. And nearly everyone I talk to has something that they're trying to pull in. There's a reason for that. There's a reason that you feel that desire. There's something about that that's going to ask you to call in a version of yourself that aligns with that. And in the process, you elevate, your own vibration, and you get to step one step forward closer to your fullness and the life that you came here to lead and the legacy that you came here to leave behind. I hope at some level this was helpful for a little Sunday video. I hope you can hear the birds chirping in the background. It's so beautiful, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.